Keiko's Diary.
Welcome to the Keiko's Diary podcast, where I get up close and personal with creatives to uncover the people behind the art. Without further ado, let's bring in today's guest, award-winning composer, Kevin Manthei.
Hey there. Hi.
How are you doing, Kevin?
Doing great. Thanks for having me.
You have contributed music to everything, seriously, from Buffy the Vampire Slayer to Scream films, to primetime dramas, to Shrek and Kung Fu Panda video games, even to animated staples like Ben 10, Batman Gotham Knight, Robot Chicken, and Spider-Man. Something that is also impressive is how you actually studied under famed composer Jerry Goldsmith. He was one of the most acclaimed composers of all time, known for works like Mulan, Star Trek, Medicine Man, Dennis the Menace, The Mummy, the Rambo films, and just so many more. Could you just tell us about your time working with him and how it impacted your own successful career as a composer?
I was at USC. They have a scoring for motion pictures and television degree there. And this was in the early 90s. And Jerry decided to teach for 1 year. It was the only year that he taught, and for whatever reason, that was the year I went. So
wow.
He taught both semesters, and because of him, we were able to record at Fox Scoring Stage, and really learned a lot from him just about writing a good solid theme, writing some good solid motives and motifs that you could use in the film and in the music. And then, of course, we got to hear some great stories, how he chose to write for Planet of the Apes, how he picked out all the interesting percussion instruments, and not just using traditional orchestral instruments, but finding odd instruments, either world instruments, created instruments, like the blaster beam that was used in Star Trek.
Yeah.
And then he also had a lot of synthesizers on his movies. So a couple of sessions of his we got to go to as students. He'd have the synthesizer guy come, and they'd have these massive rigs of just, the guy would sit in the middle of there'd be 4 walls of synthesizers around him, and then they would just kind of collaborate there right on the scoring stage about what kind of sound he wanted.
I love how you pointed out how he tended to not just go the traditional route. That's something I notice in you, is you don't just do obligatory music in the background. Your music has purpose, and it always has a personality. And it's because you're not afraid to pull in something that's a little unusual, and it just really enhances all your music.
Yeah, I think that was a big influence on me for sure.
Why don't we kick things off with my favorite segment, the 60-second 411. Favorite color?
Teal.
Favorite movie?
Napoleon Dynamite.
Favorite song?
Bohemian Rhapsody, Smells Like Teenage Spirit.
Ooh, favorite game?
Original Warcraft.
Greatest fear?
Going bankrupt.
Ooh, hot or cold weather?
Hot.
Night owl or morning bird?
Morning for sure.
Favorite singer?
Adele, Kurt Cobain.
Ooh, favorite food?
Steak, barbecue.
Favorite holiday?
Christmas.
Aw, biggest pet peeve?
Traffic.
Cats or dogs?
Dogs.
If you had a superpower, what would it be?
Know the future.
Ooh, favorite Spice Girl?
I don't have one.
Favorite subject in school?
Chemistry, band, and history.
Oh my goodness, you did it, Kevin! Oh wow, that might be the best time of the season. It's like right up there.
The Spotlight.
My personal favorite work of yours, which is Generator Rex. I just absolutely adore this series, top to bottom. The art design, it actually influenced my own webcomic, Project Infinity Rebellion.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and so the whole show, it just has a vibe to it, doesn't it? It's just so specific to that show. And your music, it was one of the major elements that really holds it all together and stamps it with the personality. I remember when I watched it, I went to the trouble, I actually looked up who made the music because it stood out to me. And I was like, oh my goodness, it's Kevin. So
That's cool.
You just made it was as if Rex's soul was speaking through the music. It was amazing. So could you just talk about your time working on this project, from when you first got involved to finding the right sound for it?
Kind of reached out to the showrunner, it was John Fang, and kind of was in the mix for the show, and they wanted like a punk score. That was their idea. Listen to some punk rock, kind of ignore the lyrics, ignore maybe the singing, just listen to the grooves. They're very upbeat and fun. Wrote a bunch of demos just kind of with that in mind, and because I hadn't really written a lot of pop rock or punk rock music before. And so it was that I kind of discovered that as I was doing my research. I was accepted. They liked me. They wanted me to score the show. Man, that very first cue that I wrote, I remember I probably spent like a day on like a 30-second because I just want to get it all right. So I play guitar, but when it comes to guitars and tracking all the guitars, I like to work with guitarists. So I had live guitar and bass on, all of Rex, and that really helped bring it alive. And I had a really good high quality drum samples. And but Rex really came alive when the punk rock met with the orchestra and met with the sort of the synth hybrid scoring kind of sound. I was trying to write a cool theme for 6, and this was very early on, like first episode. And I was just writing themes, and I shared my theme that I had written for 6 for John Feng, and he said, "This is absolutely perfect for Van Kleiss." So Van Kleiss's theme was originally intended for 6. My daughter, Piper, who was maybe 12, 13 at the time, she was playing piano at the time, and she was a little composer, and so she learned my Van Kleiss theme on the piano, and then she came up with a couple of variations that I ended up using in the show. So I have 2 different Van Kleiss variations, which you'll hear in his theme, like whenever it goes longer. And she and I collaborated on that.
Big names you worked on were Ultimate Spider-Man and Marvel Spider-Man, which both ran for multiple seasons, from 2012 to 2017 and 2017 to 2020. And there's also, of course, Ben 10.
Well, Ben 10 and Ultimate Spider-Man very much comedy, but also a lot of action. But again, like the tone of each show is very different, which was really interesting because Ben 10 has this punk rock score as well. Yeah. But it's done from more, but Ben is 10, so it's like it's done in a little bit more of a friendlier, less aggressive kind of way. And then each villain in Ben 10 has a very strong theme. So you have these really strong themes just going up against one another. You'd have like punk rock just wailing away on when Ben was in his action moments, and then you'd switch to a villain and it'd just go right into their music. And the challenge was, how do you bridge all these characters fighting, and whose theme are you focusing on, and whose sound, and all of that. Ultimate Spider-Man, then you're going into a whole Marvel universe. Now it's like a little daunting too, as long as we weren't going too far out in the wrong direction. We were able to, I was able to just try new things. I actually did Marvel's Spider-Man too, right after I did Ultimate Spider-Man. I was really honored and surprised that they asked me back to do the very next show after Ultimate Spider-Man. I had to sort of go against myself and what I had done in Ultimate Spider-Man, because when we went to Marvel Spider-Man, we purposely went a lot more orchestral, so there was no guitar.
I can't even imagine, with shows that have this many episodes and go on for so many years, how in the world do you stay on top of it? What's your workflow?
It's fun to take themes that you've already written and rework them and written on previous episodes that can be worked into the newer ones. So that's called music editing. And so that's one way I would keep things fresh, or at least so where I wasn't like, oh my gosh, I have to write 20 minutes of music and I only have 6 days. It's like, okay, I can music edit 5 minutes of music here, and now I have 10 minutes left to 10 minutes to write, and I have 4 days. So now that's like, okay, it's good. I can really put 100%. I like to have people help with the mixing and just sort of the finalizing of the episode. That would always save time, so that would allow me to focus more on the composition.
We've talked about some of the animated projects you've worked on, which are more cool and superhero oriented, but you've also composed music for straight up cartoon classics like Johnny Test, Xiaolin Showdown, Brandy and Mr. Whiskers, and Invader Zim. All three of those won an Emmy, by the way. Just saying. I just remember when I was very young watching Brandy and Mr. Whiskers on Disney Channel during its initial run. In regards to the instrumentation and the writing process, how different was your workflow and process for these cartoons compared to your edgier superhero type work?
Invader Zim is actually a really dark, industrial, kind of gothic, synthesizer-based sound. And so that, what some episodes were full-on, straight-on action. A lot of them had real sound designy, non-traditional scoring elements. Brandy and Mr. Whiskers was more of a fun kind of Brazilian, jungly kind of sound. Xiaolin Showdown was really interesting because each character represented a different part of the world. So we had Kimiko, who was Japanese, Clay was from Texas, and Raimundo, Brazil. So you had all of that, and then you had on top of that the score, and then you'd have these big showdowns at the end, like a hybrid kind of sound. Again, when I say hybrid, it means you just kind of throw everything in, the whole kitchen sink.
And there's Johnny Test.
Kind of a rock punk with synthesizers, and he's got these sisters who were always using them as an experiment, and just that show was start stop, was nonstop for 11 minutes.
You don't just do animation and video games. You've also composed music for tons of live action works like Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the Spy Kids Miramax trailer, Scream films, Resident Evil, and primetime dramas. How is it different for you making music for live action productions? And which one of these has been your favorite?
I just scored a documentary actually, and that was really fun because the music's not starting and stopping, starting and stopping, starting and stopping. It's like you're able to come up with an idea and then just let that idea flow. Working on the Scream films, I wrote additional music for Marco Beltrami on Scream 2 and 3. I remember watching some of Marco's cues when he was playing me something. It was very, very detailed. You're hitting all these actions. We call that cuey. It was very cue related, boom, they fall on the ground, you hit that. Someone gets stabbed. I was kind of teasing him. It's kind of like, Carl Stalling meets horror. When Invader Zim, when I was asked to do some demos for Invader Zim, I was just kind of coming off of all this horror writing, and I honestly treated my Invader Zim demo as though I was scoring a horror film.
Have you ever gone skydiving?
No.
Have you ever touched a snake?
Yeah, growing up in Minnesota, there was a lot of garden snakes basically, but they were just snakes in the background. And I've actually, on my property here in northern LA County, I've killed a couple rattlesnakes with a shovel. I've smashed off the head. I got to protect the fam.
Have you ever broken your phone?
I have stupidly walked into a pool 2 times with a phone in my pocket. Everyone makes fun of me because I don't have a case on my phone, and I generally don't drop it.
Have you ever been betrayed?
I think I may have, but I just can't think of a particular time.
Have you ever cried in public?
I have no idea.
Yeah, I know, right?
I think so. Yeah. I like movies. I'm a sucker for crying at movies. Probably cried at my wedding.
Have you ever broken any bones?
I broke my arm as a kid. I was walking on the top of a fence holding onto tree limbs all along the way, and of course that wasn't smart. It fell on my arm.
Have you ever exploded with rage?
Of course, I have 3 kids.
Have you ever been cheated on?
No.
Have you ever seen a ghost?
No, I have not.
Do you believe in ghosts?
Man, I'm so conflicted on that. I have not seen a UFO, but one time I was driving to a wedding in the Wisconsin, out in Wisconsin, just driving these beautiful country roads, and I looked up and there was an airplane in the sky. And I don't know if it was the way I was driving or what, but I kid you not, that airplane was just there. It wasn't moving. And I'm like, what's going on? It was this airplane was just kind of there. And I don't know if it was because of the way I was going, and it was going, that somehow it was just a very interesting, but that's always just kind of what did I see?
Have you ever run away?
No, I didn't.
Yeah.
I had a good child.
Have you ever done something crazy?
I wrote, I became a composer. That I knew that was kind of a crazy thing to do back when I wanted to pursue music, and because everyone, even my sweet grandma, would say, okay, well, you should have something else to fall back on in case that doesn't work. And I would always think to myself and tell them, I said, well, if I have something to fall back on, I probably won't end up doing what I really want to do.
Ooh. Have you ever tried something and regretted it?
Once I make the decision to try something, I don't think I generally regret things. I've had a couple business ideas where I jumped into it and I did it to only find out that I didn't really have the love for it that I thought I did.
Right.
But that's okay, because then and then you can go on to something else. And so I would say I wouldn't say I would regret that. It's just that you kind of found out and you went through that path,
Have you ever pulled an all-nighter?
Honestly, I really prefer good planning over cramming. There's only so much creativity you can get out of your body and your mind in a day until you just need to sleep. With animation and these tight deadlines, that's something that you really need to be able to just be systematic about these things. It's really important in life and in business.
Have you ever been terrified?
The big things in life, like having children, getting married, starting a new project. I just started a new animated short this week, so it's like I open up a template, I delete everything on the template, and it's just this I got two massive 30-inch screens sitting here, and it's completely blank.
Yeah.
It's kind of terrifying.
Yeah, the little tumbleweed blows by.
We had to evacuate for a fire a couple times, but there was a really big one that was out this way about 5 years ago, and so that was kind of terrifying, because we had to get all of our stuff in the car. We have goats. We had to get goats in a car. We had to get the cats and dogs and pictures and all that stuff. So just imagining that your house would not be there, that's pretty terrifying.
Fan mail.
The first one is actually a message from Film Critic 997. They're one of our most loyal viewers. Kevin, I just had to tell you that I feel you are the very best in your field. The music you compose for all these brilliant works stands out from others because of the heart and care you put into it. I can tell you never just churn out something, but rather you sincerely pour your whole being into your work. Thank you for your brilliant contributions to the world. Please continue composing for a long time and elevating these projects to the next level.
I'll frame this and look at it every morning.
Okay, yeah, I'll send it to you so you can print it out.
Awesome. That's nice. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay, another message from Victoria Long. She asked, in your personal opinion, what's your best work?
I'm always excited about what I'm currently working on, and I'm very fond of things that I've worked on in the past, but I'm also always looking forward to the things I'm currently working on or the things that I'm, going to be working on. So a show that I just recently, in the last year or so, finished, which, may come back, is called Villainous, which was created by Alan Iterial and AI Animation in Mexico City. And that is a Cartoon Network Latin America show that was on Cartoon Network Latin America and HBO Max in Latin America. And then the reason I mention it now is that now it's on the new streaming platform Max, and they just released in late May, they just released the English version of the show. So all 6 episodes are up streaming right now. That show kind of combines a lot of the things that I'm interested in, which is, there's elements of horror, there's comedy, there's really unique characters that each have their own distinctive kind of theme. And it's kind of an anti-hero show, so there's that's kind of funny. It's like what was interesting is one of the episodes they're sort of taking down traditional heroes because they're sort of like villains, but they're good, and then the heroes are sort of bad. So it's like, how do you write a classic hero theme do it in such a way that you're telegraphing that this character is actually kind of a bad guy.
Dustin 101 asked, so like this may be a stupid question, but how are composers selected for a show? Do you have to audition or what?
Yeah, it's a good question. That's not stupid at all. So it runs the gamut. It could be like, hey, Kevin, we want you to score our show. We really like your work that you've done. It could be there's certain music departments in Hollywood that they send out a spec sheet, like explains the show. They'll send out an animatic or a 3-minute scene from the show, and they'll say, score this and send it in and put your name on it, and then you just hear back in a month or two if you got it or not. I was up for an Apple animated show, and for this one, I kind of went all out. I actually created my own sample library of sounds that I used for the music. I sampled a bunch of preschool and various instruments. Sampling is where you, with a microphone, you play in every single note of whatever instrument it is, and then you assign them inside the synthesizer or the sampler to all the various notes, and then suddenly now when you play the keyboard, now you're able to play that instrument that you were, 2 hours ago you were actually playing with your fingers, or like if it's a flute, you were playing with your mouth, and now you're playing it with your fingers. You as the creator listening to my demo, you will not hear anywhere else, because it is my sample library, it's my sounds, and it's my music.
Isn't technology amazing and what it's done for music? I bet Mozart would just faint if he could see you playing a flute on a keyboard.
If Mozart grew up now, would he like start writing EDM music and not orchestral music?
He'd be a DJ. Another question from Silent Drifter 1212. They asked, I like in Generator Rex how you blended rock elements with the action genre. It has inspired me to start composing music of my own, but it's hard. What tips do you have for people wanting to make music at home with programs like FL Studio?
It's good to have software. You need to have good sample libraries. You need to understand what a sample library is. You need to understand what a VST is, a plugin, and you need to have some good ones at your disposal, because if, let's say, you're just going to write something that's a piano, well, it would be nice if you had a good piano sound. If you have a really crappy piano sound, it's just, it can only sound so good because your sounds aren't professional. In order to know how to write music, I would think that you would need to be a musician. So there's many, many years that go into becoming a good, proficient musician. There's no substitute for hard work in this business and in any avenue that you want to pursue in excellence in life. You got to put your 10,000 hours in. You got to be passionate about it. You got to love it. You got to want it really bad.
One more question from Bethany Bloom. She asked, what was it like making the music for the Ben 10 reboot? Probably was a nerve-wracking assignment given it's so famous, LOL. Please come back for the next series. You were the best part of it, to be honest.
Yeah, I'd love to come back for the next series whenever I haven't heard anything. I live with these characters every day. I see Ben, I see Grandpa, I see Gwen, I see all these crazy villains, and when you score over 100 episodes in over 4 or 5 years, it's sad when it's over. What was really fun about the Ben 10 reboot was that Ben is 10 again. He's not the angsty teen. He's not older. He's just young. He's fun. He's not overly worried about anything. And that's why the punk rock attitude for Ben works so well, because even when things are tense, he just doesn't really care, and he's just not too worried. But then there's this fun moment too, then when you start to get into, you're like, okay, I got the sound of the show, now I'm just working on improving it, adding to it, creating new sounds and themes for new characters.
The Deep Dive.
If a genie could grant you 3 wishes, Kevin, what would they be?
Health and wellness for people I love. That would be a good one.
Aww.
Of course, it'd be nice to have enough money so you could retire, or to travel, do some. My wife keeps wanting, I'm very blessed to have a pool, and it's from 1987, and she's always like, we gotta do the pool. And so maybe a pool for my wife. Maybe if I could have every single synthesizer ever made in the world.
Oh, that is such a composer's wish.
In a warehouse, a massive warehouse with every percussion instrument ever made. Oh, how about this would be a good one now that we're thinking composing wise. A 90-piece orchestra that just is on call and ready to play music.
Are you afraid of death?
Yeah, I think we're all afraid of death to some degree. I'm a Christian, so I'm not ultimately afraid of death, but you know, death is part of life. It's the circle of life.
What is your biggest regret?
A lot of times people regret maybe not working harder in their 20s, you know, in those early years. Maybe I could be an even better composer. Because of my work in Invader Zim, I got known for being an animation composer. I had no intention of being an animation composer. I was scoring video games at the time and doing additional music on features. And I literally fell into that, and I absolutely loved it.
What is your earliest memory of life?
In Minnesota somewhere, it was kind of in the fall and just picking blueberries, and then having to get up really early the next morning, and my mom gave me Cheerios, and my dad was out starting the car, and like it was cold out, and I was like, where am I? I was really like tired, and I don't know why I remember that. I also remember playing cars underneath a chair at a relative's house, like in Iowa. That's one of the fun things about kids is you get to enjoy, you live life through them. And I never really understood that until I had children, but having, you know, experience the joy of walking for the first time, you get to experience that through your child, because I don't remember learning how to walk, but I get to see my kid do it.
At MLA Entertainment, we always say keep being creative. Since you've been so successful in pursuing your dreams and making them come true, what does being creative mean to you? And how has it impacted your life and career? Any advice?
Creativity is coming to your creativity every day, even when you don't feel like it. It's taking a step forward when you don't feel like taking steps forward. It's taking baby steps. It's the culmination of many, many small decisions that ultimately come together into you as an artist, no matter what it is you're doing. If you want to be a novelist, you've got to write, you know, one sentence at a time. Those sentences will turn into a paragraph. Paragraphs turn into pages. Pages turn into chapters. Chapters turn into a book. When you're done with that book, you're not done. Now you're going to edit it. You're going to put your passion and your blood, sweat, and tears into it. And there are the inspired days, and there are the days where you just get it done. They talk about the muse. Yes, it's the muse is this thing that we don't know where it comes from necessarily, just this thing. But we have to show up for that to work. And we have to be disciplined in the sense that we need to create time for it. You know, we need to have balance in our lives. We need to exercise. We need to get out in nature. We need to eat well. We need to, take care of ourselves spiritually. We need to take care of ourselves mentally.
Yeah.
We need to be kind to other people when we're striving towards things that are good and right. That really, I think it can impact creativity.
Well, I would just like to give you the floor, Kevin, to tell the viewers about any upcoming projects you're working on.
I'm doing a little project for Cartoon Network. They're bringing back this program called Cartoons.
I love that.
Yeah, so I've scored. I scored one last year, and I'm scoring one now, and I'm sure they'll come out to a streamer at some point. Just finished a feature documentary that I'm excited about. That's coming out in July. Remember I was talking about sample libraries?
Yeah.
So I create sample libraries for composers. So I'm essentially creating sounds and music sample libraries that other composers can use in their music. So, and I just started that. I've been sampling for many, many years, tens of years. And I just have all this really great material that I've created just for my own music. And I was like, just decided that I thought it would just be really fun to share that with other composers. My company is called Triumph Audio, and we have a website. I'm Kevin Manthei, and for MLA Entertainment, keep being creative.
Hey you! You can help support the Keiko's Diary podcast by liking, subscribing, and sharing it with your friends. Sounds like you're pretty powerful. Thank you for listening, and keep being creative.